the math review for Wednesday, April 1st, 2020. Boys and girls, I hope you have your math worksheet out with you. You should have worksheet pages 291 to 292. We're going to review what you will be seeing today. One of the first things you'll see on your worksheet is you're going to be counting by tens. You've been doing this all year. This isn't a problem for you. Okay, my students know we grow as we go. So we're going to start out low. We're going to count from 10 to 100 together. Everyone join me. Here we go, starting with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now, can you go from 100 to 200 by tens? I know you can. Let's grow as we go. 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. Great job. Boys and girls, it's just like counting from 10 to 100, except you add a number in your hundreds place, okay? Same thing, counting from 200 to 300, all right? Now, you're also going to be seeing some doubles on your worksheets today. Let's remember what a double is, okay? I've got two examples here. I have 6 plus 6. Okay, a double is simply adding the same number twice. 6 plus 6 equals, oh, I hope you know your addition facts. 6 plus 6 equals 12. How about 7 plus 7? That's right, 7 plus 7 equals 14. Now, right after that, you're going to be asked to find half of a given number. Now, boys and girls, I want you to use your doubles to help you with this section of the worksheet. Okay, here's my first example. 1/2 of 12 equals, well, if I'm finding half, I need 2 equal groups. If I wanted 2 equal groups from the number 12, I'm going to go back to my double. What plus what equals 12? 6. 1/2 of 12 is 6. How about my example B? 1/2 of 14. Boys and girls, I need 2 equal groups. I'm going to go back to my doubles. 7 plus 7 equals what? That's right. 1/2 of 14 equals 7. Use the section before to help you find a half of the given numbers, okay? Now, boys and girls, I'm going to erase my board because we have something very important to work on. If you remember, Monday, I told you the word resourceful. I'm using what resources I have, and, well, I only have a small chalkboard right now, or whiteboard. But I'm not complaining. The Lord teaches us to be content in all circumstances. I'm not complaining here. I'm happy to have a whiteboard. It's just not quite big enough today. So I'm going to have to erase this. And we're going to talk about something called fractional parts. Okay? Let's remember, we've been talking about fractions for a little while. Let's remember what a fraction is, okay? A fraction is equal parts of a whole. Okay, remember, it's got to be equal parts. So I'm going to actually use what we're having for lunch today as examples today, okay? We're going to be having pizza. Here, I have a whole pizza, okay? Who likes pizza? I like pizza. Well, guess what? Micah's excited because Micah thinks he's getting a whole pizza. He's soon going to be disappointed, though, because Seth is hungry too. So I'm going to have to divide my pizza into 2 equal parts, okay? Boys and girls, when I divide my pizza into 2 equal parts, I have something called halves, okay? Now, let's remember, we've done this before. When we write the fraction half, this is what we have. Okay, the bottom part of my fraction shows how many parts I have. How many parts do I have here? 2. Okay, the bottom part of my fraction shows how many parts my pizza is divided into. Now the top part tells me how many of those pieces I I have. For example, or let's use Micah here. Micah is getting 1/2 of the pizza. He's getting 1 of the 2 parts. Okay, well guess what? They're soon both going to be upset, Micah and Seth, because Isaac's hungry too. I'm going to have to divide my pizza into 3 equal parts, okay? When I divide my pizza into 3 equal parts, I have what is called thirds. Let's remember how we write thirds, okay? The bottom part of my fraction tells me how many parts my whole is divided into. The top number tells me how many pieces I have, or parts that I have. So each of my boys will get 1/3 of the pizza. They'll each get 1 of 3 pieces. Now, guess what? Caroline's hungry too. We're gonna have to divide our pizza again. This time, I'm going to divide it into 4 equal parts, or what we call fourths. Okay, let me get this set up. Now, when I divide my pizza into fourths, how many pieces or parts do I have? Remember, that's the number that goes on bottom. What is my pizza divided into? 4 parts, or 4 pieces. Okay, each of my kids are getting 1 of the 4 parts, 1/4. Okay, so here are my fractions. I have a whole. I've divided my pizza equally. I have halves, I have thirds, I have fourths. Today on your worksheet, you are going to be comparing these parts. You're going to be deciding which fraction is greater, which fraction is least. Okay, now I'm going to quickly, well, look what I found. I was so happy to find this. I'm going to set this up so that you can see my greater than, less than symbols. Okay, I have my greater than. Remember, we come to the greater part of the symbol, or the alligator's mouth. And I have my less than symbol. Okay, you're going to use this today to compare these fractions. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at my small whiteboard here. And these are going to be based off some of the problems you will see on your worksheet today. Okay, let's look on page 292. You can go ahead and turn to that page if you want. You're going to look at number 2 on your worksheet. Okay, the directions for number 2 say circle the number that shows the total parts of the fraction. Now remember, when I wrote my fractions here, I told you which number represents the total parts of the fraction. Okay, which number showed me that? The top or the bottom number? Let's remember, the bottom number shows us the total parts that we have in our fraction. Okay, so on number 2, you're going to be circling the bottom number. This number shows you the total parts you have in each fraction. Okay, when I have halves, I have 2 parts. When I have thirds, I have 3 parts. And when I have fourths, I have 4 parts. Now, on number 3, you're going to be asked to order from least to greatest, half, fourths, thirds. Now, this is kind of tricky, but I'm going to give you a hint, something you can use. Okay, the fewer parts you divide something into, remember the bottom tells us how many parts we're dividing it into. The fewer parts you divide something into, the greater each part is. So look at this. When I divided my pizza into halves to 2 parts, I had a greater amount than when I divided it into thirds. Okay, think about when Micah only had to split it with Seth. They each got a bigger part. But when Isaac came along, they got less. Guess what? When Caroline came along, they got an even smaller part. Okay, so when we're comparing these fractions, let's think about that. Which one would be your least? If you were putting these in order from least to greatest, which would give you the least part? Okay, look at half, fourth, thirds. I want you, right now, you can go ahead and look at your worksheet on number 3, and you can record in your boxes. Let me show you here. You have your worksheet. You could go ahead and record right here, which is the least. If you had halves, fourths, or thirds, which one would give you the least part? Well, think about it. When they had to share with, when Micah had to share with Seth, Isaac, and Caroline, when he had to share fourths, they each got a smaller part, okay? So your least would be 1, ooh, this is tricky. Writing upside down, definitely not a gift of mine. 1/4, okay? Which would have given you the greatest part? Fourths, thirds, or halves? Well, think about it. When Mike and Seth were the only 2 eating, they got a greater part than when they had to share with their other 2 siblings. Halves would be your greatest, okay? You could go ahead and record half right here. What does that leave you? Fourth is your least. Half is your greatest. Third would be right in between, okay? Thirds. All right? Now, on number 4 of your worksheet, you're going to mark the circle under the correct sign. This is where we're going to be using our greater than or less than sign. You're comparing the fractions. Let's look at the first one, okay? The first one says 1/2. You're going to compare it to 1/4. Which one is, well, let me back up. We're comparing the half to the fourth. Which symbol are we going to use here? 1/2, here's an example of 1/2, and 1/4. Is 1/2 greater than, or is it less than? Well, if it were me, I would rather have half of the pizza rather than a fourth of the pizza. So 1/2 is greater than, remember the gator eats the number that is greater, the mouth's open to half. 1/2 is greater than 1/4. What about 1/4 and 1/3? Let's compare those. We've got 1/4, 1/3, okay? 1/4, is 1/4 greater than 1/3, or is it less than? Which one would you rather have? Right, I'd rather have 1/3, okay? Remember when on the bottom, the fewer parts you divide something into, the greater amount you have. 3 is fewer than 4, okay? I'd rather have 1/3 than 1/4. So 1/4 is less than, write that less than symbol, 1/3, okay? Remember your less than symbol. And finally, last one, 1/3, you're comparing to 1/2. We have 1/3, 1/2, okay? 1/3, is it greater than or less than 1/2? I want you to do this one on your own. Pause the video for just a moment. Remember, the fewer parts you have on bottom, the greater amount you have, okay? The fewer parts you divide something into, the greater amount you have. Go ahead and do that. Let's check your work. 1/3 is less than 1/2. I would much rather have 1/2 of the pizza than 1/3. Okay? Now, boys and girls, I want you to give your best effort, just as you always do, okay? We're going to keep working on this. This is something that's a little confusing at first. It takes quite a while to really understand this concept, okay? We're going to keep working on that together. But today was a good start, okay? Have a great day. Thank you.